Hello, friends. My name is Rich D. And look at this. This is the editor of Cointelegraph, who is now based in Dubai. And here's how she commented on this media outlet's blunder yesterday of spreading fake news about Bitcoin ETF adoption. Write in the comments whether she's right or wrong. This is about a post on Cointelegraph. And yes, it was disastrous. And that's an example of what it shouldn't be. But that's what happens when we are constantly under pressure to be first with every news story. And it's not a journalism problem. It's a societal and technological problem. I'm talking about indexing on Google and social media, where if you're not the first, you're the last. There is no second or third place. Yesterday I suggested something similar, that Cointelegraph were just trying to be first and therefore made a mistake. It's really true. If you're not the first, you're the last. It's a famous Ricky Bobby quote. In other words, the Cointelegraph editor says Google, social media indexing and technology are to blame, and so they are under societal pressure to be first. But when people lose hundreds of millions of dollars because of it, is that the right thing to do? Write in the comments what you think. Under tremendous public pressure, Cointelegraph put out this article explaining the situation and what happened inside the company. And if we flip through it, we see that they have some secret Telegram channel of 46 members. Isn't that the one we were talking about yesterday? I don't know how, but somehow some insider got in there and said Bitcoin with POTOV ETF was approved. And everyone said, come on, is that true? And at the end of it, they simply agreed with the news. And shortly thereafter, this so-called insider deleted his account. I don't know how this man was invited there, and I don't know why everyone just believed him. But it happened. And then Cointelegraph published its sensational tweet about the adoption of the Bitcoin ETF based on this secret chat. What happened next was everything I talked about in yesterday's video. But what will happen to the market when we get a true spot Bitcoin ETF? Bitcoin instantly skyrocketed $3,000 in a single candle just based on a fake from Cointelegraph's secret chat room. Why did it roll back? All because the news turned out to be fake. I mean, what happened is like a trailer of what lies ahead. And some people even think that maybe it was done on purpose to test the market to see how much it would move. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has already commented on the incident too. They tweeted, "Be careful what you read on the internet." The best sources of information of anything related to the SEC is the SEC itself. Unfortunately, we just gave Gary a good excuse to continue his line of behavior. I wonder if he will use this episode as a reason and argument for not endorsing spot ETFs at all? I hope that's not the case. After all, today is just another deadline to make a decision on many applications. Could it be that Gary Gensler is the man with the deleted account from Cointelegraph's secret chat room? Maybe he snuck in there and leaked this false information? But it's definitely not what the market needs right now as we all await the launch of a true spot ETF. Blackrock and its CEO also responded to the incident. And today, Larry Fink clarified that this Bitcoin price rally wasn't just fueled by rumors of an ETF launch. He said it was much more than that. Let's hear it. This price rally is beyond rumor. I think today's price rise is a flight to quality by investors, given all these issues with the war in Israel and global terrorism. And I think more and more people are running to quality, whether it's treasuries, gold or cryptocurrencies, depending on how they feel about them. I think cryptocurrencies will also play a key role in fleeing investors from all sorts of problems. This is an interesting formulation, the flight of investors to quality. So in effect Larry Fink is saying that Bitcoin is about quality. That the best thing right now is cryptocurrencies. It came out of his mouth. And in fact Bitcoin went up today and then fell back down again on false rumors. But Larry Fink says, who cares? It's still the best we've got. Bitcoin is an escape into quality. People are realizing that you can't trust the government and you can't trust the banks. You also can't trust central banks like the US Federal Reserve. Because they don't care about us. They only care about themselves. And they don't really care about our interests. They certainly don't preserve our purchasing power, which drops year after year due to inflation. So we have to take care of ourselves. And such a quality escape, according to Larry, is Bitcoin. And the spot instrument will open the way to that escape. And Larry Fink is not the only person who believes this. Cuddy Wood says Gary Gensler is the only one standing in the way of opening that road. It's up to the US Securities and Exchange Commission. And I think we all realize that. Cuddy Wood is very optimistic about Bitcoin. She expects it to be worth $1.5 million in 2030. That's in the next cycle, not this one. That's how optimistic she is about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general. And ARK Invest also has a bid to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF with a deadline in January. Here's a very good example that even whales can succumb to emotions. This whale spent $613,000 to buy wrapped Bitcoin and then sold it for $564,000 after learning that news of the ETF launch turned out to be a fake. He lost virtually $50,000 in 10 minutes. But here's the thing. After the Bitcoin price collapsed on the fake, it did rebound again. And if that whale had held rather than sold, his losses would have been much smaller. As we can see, buying and holding is often better than fidgeting with selling and buying every 10 minutes. Yes, if you get it a few times in a row, you'll feel the high you'll eventually get hooked on. It's dopamine, it's endorphin, it's adrenaline. And then you'll get greedier and greedier until you overdose and are simply eliminated. That's what leverage does. Don't play with it, it will lead to failure. By the way, one of the reasons why Bitcoin managed to stay above $28,000 after this price drop can be considered that the People's Bank of China injected almost $300 billion of yuan into the financial system without changing interest rates. And it's the largest liquidity injection since December 2020, just in time for the pandemic. Well, markets, as we know, love liquidity. We'll talk about liquidity in the next video I'm working on right now. So subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss it. It's going to be very important. Also, don't forget to support this video with a like. It really helps to promote them. The number of Bitcoin wallets with balances between 100 and 1,000 Bitcoins has jumped dramatically, Sentiment reports. Look at that jump, there it is. This may well be on the back of people seeing yesterday's incident as a rehearsal for the real ETF launch. But in addition to whales, retail investors and concurrent long-term holders are also accumulating Bitcoin. And they bought $1.35 billion worth of Bitcoin as part of a dollar averaging strategy. Few people can immediately shell out $28,000 for a single Bitcoin. But what almost everyone can do is invest $100 a week. And thus accumulate a whole Bitcoin over time. It is also interesting to note the activity of old and long dormant Bitcoin coins. Crypticon writes, someone knows something we don't know about. The surge in old Bitcoin activity strangely occurs around the same time each cycle. Usually before Bitcoin begins its massive rise. The exception is 2019 and 2020 because we had a big market crash due to the COVID pandemic. But if he hadn't been there, we would have recovered faster. So this is one of those moments. We are seeing a big spike in old coin activity, and perhaps this is a hint of preparation for something bigger. This chart shows it even better. This is the biggest jump in old coin activity since July 2023. Yesterday you and I were talking about how some central banks are looking at tokenization as the future of money. And I remembered Chainlink. After all, according to K33 Research, Chainlink is the safest bet for tokenizing real assets. Chainlink already has the infrastructure in place to connect everything together so that it can communicate with each other without errors or problems. Chainlink seems like a natural tool for asset tokenization. Ethereum is also an option, but Chainlink has many advantages over it. For example, Australian banks are already testing Chainlink, just like New Zealand banks and even Swiss banks. They are all testing Chainlink and its infrastructure in order to tokenize real assets, deposits, etc. Apart from this, Chainlink also has some sort of breakout on the charts. The whales began to load. Look at this. Wallets between 101 million tokens added another 5.12 million links in the past week. And finally, I want to end with some war news. A very bad topic to talk about, but it affects the markets, so we have to talk about it. Janet Yellen says the US can certainly afford 2 wars at the same time. It's easy to say that when you control the money printer of an entire country. She's the US Treasury Secretary, she's in charge of printing money, she could print $1 trillion even today if she wanted to. That's why she's comfortable saying that. But can the US really afford 2 wars when in fact it is already at war with its own inflation right now? I don't know, but it's a little disturbing. And it's going to be related to the topic of the next video. And I don't know if Janet knows what's going on, or if she's just a puppet being told what to do. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. That's it. My name is Rich D. See you in the new videos. I'll see you soon.